What is going on? What are you doing? What you do? Hmm? What you do?
I hear you.
Oh, this should be easy. Okay, cool. No.
How's our guy? Did he throw up in the back seat yet? Don't worry. We get those things sluiced out at the end of every shift anyway.
Party for the Army or for Donald Trump's birthday. The AP revealing plans for a potential military parade in Washington next month with big party favors. More than 6,000 soldiers, thousands of civilian tanks, choppers, bands, and to top it all off, fireworks. It is, in fact, the Army's 250th anniversary, which also happens to fall on Trump's 79th birthday. Thank you very much for watching Newsnight. You can catch me anytime on your favorite social media platforms, X, Instagram, and TikTok. Laura Coates Live starts right now.
Tonight, musical chair strikes the White House. Mike Waltz is not down. Marco Rubio takes on more. But Democrats are saying it's actually Pete Hegseth who should be facing the music. Plus, the judge telling Trump we're not at war, so you can't deport. The major ruling tonight that could upend his agenda. And later, what is up with Bill Belichick and his girlfriend and everyone talking about it? Tonight,
And I'm
Laura
China
goes
Blue.
live.
I've got a minor major wardrobe malfunction developing out here on the Costa del kind of music.
I want to start with a little bit of a flashback. Matt Dad and the signal gate.
I'm not an expert in any of this, but it's just curious. How's the number on your phone?
Well, if you have somebody else's contact and then somehow it gets stuffed in, it gets stuffed in.
Well, now Mike Wall decided himself getting into another role. And Michael Rubio is going to the vacuum. It's the first big shakeup of Trump 2.0, and the shuffle came together so quick, it was CNN that informed the State Department spokesperson of the actual change. The president has just written on Truth Social that Mike Waltz is going to become the new U.S. ambassador to the United Nations.
Well, there was
and in addition to that, he says that in the interim, Secretary of State Marco Rubio will serve as national security advisor.
It is clear that I just heard this from you. That is the miracle of modern technology and the social.
God damn it. Why does this keep happening? Fuck! Oh well, I'll just quit then. It's not a big deal for this one.
Miracle that may be more of a curse for Waltz, because the signal scandal is what helped fuel his downfall, at least as a national security advisor. And he was spotted, using the app just yesterday. Reporters snapped this picture during President Trump's cabinet meeting. Apparently, Waltz didn't get Trump's memo weeks ago, even when he said it to his face in public in that very same cabinet room.
It's equipment and technology that's not perfect, and probably he won't be using it again, at least not in the very near future. What do you think?
That's sort of, I agree with you. Let's get everybody in the room whenever possible.
Now, it wasn't just Signalgate that led to his ouster in that role. Insiders say he had been on shaky ground for quite some time.
This was a long time coming, and Waltz never really gelled with the president and his team. There was tension with Stephen Miller, the Homeland Security Advisor.
Seth, who got the boot?
I think they're holding the wrong guy accountable.
It's the Secretary of Defense who bears responsibility for the gaping errors, the mistakes.
Not the gaping errors.
Classified information on that text chain.
He said
and
the
then also
gaping
shared that same
errors,
classified
girl.
information on a separate text chain involving his wife. For crying out loud.
Mike Waltz will need to get confirmed by the Senate, of course, to be the UN ambassador, which means we could learn a lot more about what exactly happened with those group chats. But Vice President Vance says, Hegseth, he has nothing to worry about.
Is Pete Hegseth safe as Defense Secretary? Are there other changes coming?
Well, again, I think certainly yes. Pete Hegseth is safe.
Certainly yes. Is that enough comfort for Hegseth? Because Vance was saying this about Waltz and his team as Signalgate was unfolding.
President Trump has said it on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, and I'm the vice president saying it here on Friday. We are standing behind our entire national security team.
With me now, CNN senior political commentator and former Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger. Good to see you. Let me first start with you on this point, because Waltz is going to the UN. Rubio temporarily moonlighting as a national security advisor, in addition, by the way, to his role as Secretary of State. Nothing to see that for either. What are your thoughts on this kind of plot twist?
Well, look, he's acting. Rubio's like acting archivist now, and USAID director as well. Look, frankly, I'm watching the montage. There's not a single one of the soundbites you showed where anybody was telling the truth. I mean, this is what I'm at a loss for watching this and being like, literally, I did not see a single soundbite where I could trust what the people were saying was true. Like, America's getting sick of that. Well, anyway, so my point on this is this: like, I don't think Waltz was kicked out because of Signalgate. I mean, maybe that was part of it. The only reason it would be part of it is because maybe it embarrassed Donald Trump, not because Trump has any real concern with the security of it. And look, Trump said yes, maybe he shouldn't use Signal anymore. But if you notice in the picture from Reuters, he had been recently texting with every other member of the cabinet using Signal still. So obviously there's been nothing that's gone out that said, don't use Signal, guys. I think what it comes down to is this. 3 weeks ago or so, Laura Loomer went to the White House and argued against Mike Waltz and his national security team in front of the president. Mike Waltz was reduced to begging for his job to the president against Laura Loomer.
Well, Adam, wait, I want to play this. Hold on. I want people to see what you're talking about. We actually have that sound. Listen.
I didn't go in there trying to get him fired. I was just making the point that I'm a Trump loyalist. I never said that I never campaigned against Trump. Michael Waltz was working with a PAC that was trying to actively campaign against Donald Trump in 2016. So my point is Michael Waltz is not going to have the same standard of loyalty that I have because he himself was a Trump hater.
I mean, Loomer taking a kind of victory lap with a one-word rejoinder. Loomered, what do you make of her apparent influence?
I mean, look, it's real. I mean, look, by the way, there's not a single person, really, that's close to Trump now that was not. I mean, J.D. Vance opposed Donald Trump in 2016. Marco Rubio ran against him in 2016 and made fun of his hands and his makeup. Like, so the idea that Laura Loomer's going to go there and say, well, Mike Waltz was like you in 2016. And no, Laura Loomer, for whatever reason, is really close to Trump. He loves these influencers. He's like influencers that have back. And so this is what happens. She goes there, she takes him down in front of the day after, it's just a matter of time. It really is just a matter of time. They can try to spin this and say, this is a promotion. It's not a promotion. It's a huge demotion. And look, my Waltz perspective, I knew him, obviously, in Congress. I was shocked that he became a big Trump fan because he knows better, and I hope say you never there.
Well, I have to wonder what is going to be the impact. It's not just ideas shared that were the title. We're talking about national security of our country. We have the advisory role and exclusion. There are very serious conflicts happening abroad. What does this change from Mike Waltz to now in terms of Marco Rubio? What impact will it have?
I think, look, from an analysis test, I think the change will be no different than it was, because really, I'm not saying this like to be egregious or mean, but like Donald Trump, he is the smartest guy in the room. I mean, I've been in meetings with him talking about like Syria, for instance. He'll listen to what you have to say, but he also gets more wise. So I think under Donald Trump, national security.
Because she quite literally can. That's the She's so cute. Oh my god, Brittany Carter is never feeding the autism allegation. Because she can't. Because she quite literally can't. That's the crash course in eugenics, anti-blackness, and ableism. What a lot of people don't know about ableism is that it doesn't just apply to disabled people. In fact, you don't have to have a diagnosis at all or a disability at all for ableism to impact you. That's kind of the point. And disability is not just informed by having a diagnosis at all, it's informed by normalcy or the ability to act normal. And in a white supremacist society that defines what normal is, it's whatever they say it is. The project of eugenics is not just about eradicating the lesser people like myself, like people
people with disabilities. It's about attaching disability to marginalized communities in order to slate them for eradication. Now that's a little strong given I started a video with a clip of Rumi Carter, but this is the truth. I don't know what Rumi Carter's autism status is. None of us know. None of us know. But that's kind of the point. You don't have to know in order for that ableism to impact. There's a reason why throughout American history, the implication that Black people are inherently disabled has come up time over time. And that's because you can restrict the rights of disabled people without affecting anything batting an eye. There's a reason why things like drapetomania or escape slave syndrome became a popular diagnosis. Right as institutionalization became increasingly popular. Not only could you lock away and imprison somebody with a disability without much recourse, but those asylums and institutions were also segregated. There's a reason why we talk about Black people, Black babies being alligator bait and crocodile bait without much talking about the fact that they were probably disabled. And there's a reason why, as Black people were making money in restaurant jobs as waiters, as servers, that the 1938 Labor Standards Act made it so that restaurant work was tipped work, so you could be paid below the minimum wage. The same law also allows for disabled people to be paid below the minimum wage. And in our current era, there's a particular reason why RFK Jr. points to autism in the Black community. Right as over the last 5 years, states like California and New York have expanded conservatorships and guardianship laws. And that's because you could be stripped of your assets, your autonomy, your ability to live wherever you want to, and in some states, your ability to vote. We need intelligence tests to vote. Who do you think historically have been the only people who have had to take intelligence tests to vote? And this is I to implicitly connect Blackness with disability. This does not mean that Black people don't have disabilities. In fact, we have some of the highest rates of disability throughout the country because disablement is both foreign and domestic policy. To eradicate those who are deemed worthless. There's a reason why people who live in food deserts have higher rates of pulmonary issues and heart disease. There's a reason why that people who live in red line neighborhoods to this day have higher rates of asthma. Not to mention the implicit bias found in the medical system at the point of diagnoses and treatment, which then exacerbates those disabilities and chronic conditions. And I know you're looking at Rumi Carter's wealth and thinking to yourself that that inoculates her. Not as much as you think. In fact, it makes her a larger target. Because as I said before, if you're in conservation or guardianship, if you have a disability and put in some of these systems, you could be stripped of your wealth. You could have your wealth taken over for you, as well as your autonomy. It wasn't just a random person that put Wendy Williams in a conservatorship. It was a bank. And so as a result, as a reaction to this, we find ourselves erasing the disabilities of Black people throughout history. Because everybody from Audre Lorde to Halle Berry has a disability. It's also why there were so many blind Black musicians coming out of the South. They weren't just fleeing one form of segregation, they were fleeing two. And so as we enter into this moment in history, pay attention to the way that disability is weaponized against so many different communities, but particularly the Black community. Because ableism and eugenics have always been our problem.
Probably doesn't have much of a role anyway. So I think Rubio coming, he'll probably be in that position for a few months, and they're ultimately going to replace him. It could be somebody like Rick Grinnell, God forbid, or any of these other names that are passed around. I don't think Rubio will stay there. This all seemed to have happened last minute, so Rubio seemed to make sense. Let's put him in there while we figure out who's going to be the next national security advisor. Will be fired in 6 months after.
I mean, he does have another job he's doing right now that's not a low-key role as well, but, the reward for hard work, I guess it's hard work. Adam Kinzinger, thank you so much.
You bet.
I want to bring in former senior campaign manager, former Oklahoma White House School Director, Mayor Vidya. Both of you, look, the idea of a promotion demotion, Brian, how do you see it? Is this a punishment for Waltz, a recognition of something else, or is this an elevation?
Yeah, listen, I think at the end of the day, if you ask somebody where do you want to be close to the president, right? And it's not New York. So I look at it this way: it's a step down for him, but this is what happens. You segregate, caused all these issues, bad movies after bad movies. We all know the concept that there's an expiration date. The expiration date was the president.
How come you've been in the State Department before, and you've had a great career overall, talking about all the different things you've done? The impact of Secretary of State, also now having this hat and other that look like realistically? I've worked in the State Department and at the UN, and I can tell you that nobody wants to go from DC and suddenly be the UN ambassador unless you're a staffer or somebody who's looking, maybe one day, to then be national security advisor. But Stefanik wanted that role, and they've been elevated that right? So big deal to be elevated from member. First, Mike Waltz was the national security advisor, and the challenge he had is that a lot of the policies he was advocating for, greater support for Ukraine, for example, the criticism of against the drawdown in Afghanistan and critiques of how that was handled went against the prevailing policy of the Trump administration right now. So there's a bit of a disconnect policy-wise. You really need a clear sense of who is in charge and what the directives are. And you saw when Marco Rubio was sitting there with Donald Trump and Vladimir Zelensky, that it's very clear Trump and J.D. Vance are the ones running foreign policy. And, Rubio was just going to sit there. He was literally leaning back, taking that back seat. And when he was brought into office, all of the funding that he could have used, the humanitarian funding, the soft power, that was also eliminated from USAID. So you have this guy now who has three really important positions and none of the levers to actually get other countries to do anything. Well, respond to what former Congressman Peter had to say about this being essentially giving the start of attrition rate, the start of a revolving door. We saw in the first Trump administration, there were a lot of turnover. Does this signal to you this is the beginning of that, or is it very specific to you?
It's very specific. I mean, this was, what happened a month ago was a forced error, and it became a big distraction. And then it sucked in more people, into some forced error. I truly think, the people that I talked to, we always thought that there was an expiration date. We thought it was at the end of summer after this. I don't think we look at the first term to now. The biggest thing we hear is leaks. They just don't exist like they used to. And that's what created a lot of the animosity in the White House. And that's when you built people stab each other. We're getting that right now. So this game is just an unforced error, and the rest of the administration that they're here to stay for a while.
Because the AC, right? There's so much leaking and controversy coming out of the Pentagon itself. And so now you have Mike Waltz, who has to go through a confirmation. And then you still, Secretary Hegseth is still facing challenges. Be the one who is removed. Why is it Waltz? Well, because Waltz, in theory, is the guy who added the reporter, which is what revealed this to the public. So apparently the transparency was more of an issue for the White House, and that this came to light, rather than the fact that classified information is being shared by the Secretary of Defense in very casual circumstances, including with people who are not at the same clearance level. So Secretary Hegseth, this is not the first time. He's also fired most of his front office, so he's actually really underwater right now, and the one who did the rescue. So should Hegseth be worried?
No, I think it's fine. Listen, I think we all knew, we got...
In a very certain way, in the same way that Van said it about St. Mike Waltz. And just heard from President Trump, days ago, we asked the question, you have 100% confidence in Pete Hegseth? He was saying, I don't have that confidence in anything. He would say that. What is
if you look at what took place with Waltz, it was that signal, the dean in the cabinet room, becoming a dean. Like, that's learned his lesson, but he's not going to sort of made himself. Hegseth's just, he's bunkering down in the Pentagon. He has his people over in purpose. He's trying to execute, doing the recruitment that matters. He's telling the individuals, they have 4 years old. And I think he's hitting those marks. And then you also have the deputy secretary who's doing an amazing job. So I get the criticism, but that criticism is not bothering the president. The president actually thinks Hegseth's doing a good job. And the number one issue, which is recruitment.
And that's what he thinks, that it doesn't bother President Trump, right? What Pete Hegseth is doing, whether it be harmful to the force in terms of the changing of different services and service stars and people getting fired randomly, or concerns about whether or not women will be allowed to be in combat, or changing rules about gender and sexuality discrimination. Like, all of that is part of the social agenda that President Trump wants to see, that they want to see. And the challenge we see now is that national security is secondary to some of that social reengineering. So do you have concerns? Why are you laughing?
To hear Democrats talk about the bans being social engineered by Republicans seems very silly to me, since they're the ones who broke this glass, 3 decades ago?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
All the
civil rights era.
This
is literally so.
With all we need them to do.
As somebody who has actually worked at the Pentagon and the Pentagon Front Office, let me tell you that it is a proud fact that the U.S. military has always been at the forefront of advancing rights for Americans, knowing that 40% of the force draws from either the lower socioeconomic classes or minorities in America. Right? We have been
that comes from civil rights and integrating black people, allowing women in combat, recognizing that soldiers actually at the end of the day don't care who somebody else wants to sleep with as long as they can shoot straight. So the don't ask, don't tell is overturned. And the recruitment challenge that we're having now is something that we found unique to this administration and this era of having to serve in multiple wars and trying to draw them down.
That's great.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
I'll put a fine point on that. He's going to disagree. Brian Nair, thank you both so much. Up next is one of the biggest court rulings to go against the president. His whole premise of deportations under the Alien Enemies Act now ruled as unlawful. So how did the Trump-appointed judge reach that conclusion? You know I'm going to explain. Plus, Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson with a rare message tonight about all those hostile calls to impeach judges.
I love Andalusia. This southern powerhouse is the birthplace of flamenco. Now, please. Wow. Come on.
Longorians Searching for Spain, Sunday at 9 on CNN.
Slow? Yeah, I know a thing or two about that. And slow's good when it comes to a progressive disease like CKD. Jardiance is a once-daily pill proven to slow the progression of CKD and reduce the risk of kidney failure, which can lead to dialysis.
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine, which can be fatal. Stop Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, trouble breathing, or increased ketones. Jardiance may cause dehydration that can suddenly worsen kidney function and make you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or weak upon standing. General yeast infections in men and women, urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, or a rare life-threatening bacterial infection between and around the anus and genitals can occur. Call your doctor right away if you have fever or feel weak or tired, and pain, tenderness, swelling, or redness in the genital area. Don't use if allergic to Jardiance. Stop use if you have a serious allergic reaction. Call your doctor if you have rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swallowing. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet.
You could say, I like taking it slow. And with CKD, slow is the way to go. Ask your doctor about Jardiance for chronic kidney disease today.
There's a reason Chevy is called the heartbeat of America. A heartbeat strong, steady, unwavering. Like the people who keep this country moving, doing what they do best. Helping neighbors, pitching in, getting it done. For them, only America's most dependable truck. In every Chevy truck, like every Chevy driver, dependability.
Oh, move.
With GoodRx, my family saves hundreds of dollars each month.
I have insurance, but I still use GoodRx because it's still cheaper than going through my insurance.
I tell everyone, just check GoodRx.
America's Youth Mental Health Challenge requires bipartisan solutions. And that's why we're partnering with a coalition to empower our future.
There are many complex factors that should all be considered.
Economic hardships, social isolation, overuse of devices, fear of violence, and bullying all play a role. A complicated challenge needs a comprehensive solution.
May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Let's convene a conversation about empowering parents to keep their kids safe.
When did I call leaf filter? When I saw my gutters overflowing onto my porch.
Leaf filter is a permanent gutter solution, so you never have to worry about costly damage from clogged gutters again.
It's the easiest call you can make.
Call 833-LEAF-FILTER today or visit leaffilter.com.
This is what joint pain looks like when you keep moving with Aleve. Just one Aleve. 12 hours of uninterrupted joint pain relief. Aleve. Strength to last 12 hours.
Hurry, it's happening now through Monday at Rooms to Go. Shop 100 perfect picks, each just $9.99 or less. Picture it, your home fully furnished in your style. With living rooms, bedrooms, and dining rooms, each for $9.99 or less. So many stylish options, each $9.99 or less. And it gets even better. Finance for $22 or less per
I
month.
appreciate
Interest-free
that.
until March
God damn, this thing is
2029. Don't wait.
beautiful.
Offer ends Monday at Rooms to Go.
I'm Rafael Romo in Rome. This is CNN.
A first of its kind ruling declaring the president's use of an 18th century deportation law illegal. A federal judge appointed by President Trump is blocking the administration's use of the Alien Enemies Act.
Here's a question. I don't know. If you could make a rule for a day and everyone had to follow it, what would it be? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Free ice cream for everyone? He looks familiar. I don't know why. I don't know why, but he looks so familiar.
Oh man, I can smell that grass like 10 minutes ago. That's some good dope. I used to smoke when I was in college. Man, that was some far out times. Now I, hit the ice, I take apart a radio, and I masturbate till dawn. Trevor calls it maturity. And I'll get this unloaded. But unless any of you want to get down with Tina, no?
Oh well, I came in third. Whatever. It's better than fourth. Mm-mm. Ooh, girl, no. Never that.
to deport alleged Venezuelan gang members from within his district. Judge Fernando Rodriguez ruling the president's use of this statute exceeds his authority because the law was meant to only be used during wartime. Now, other courts, including the Supreme Court, they have paused the president's use of the Alien Enemies Act. The ruling today is actually the first definitive ruling on the merits of such action. Also here, Vice President of Immigration Policy at Forward U.S., Andrea Flores. Welcome to both of you here. Andrea, let me ask you, because in the ruling, the judge really picked apart the administration's premise that
Wait. I didn't see what it is.
military force in some way that would allow them to then use this wartime act. How significant will this ruling be?
I think it's really significant, and it's overdue, quite frankly, because since March, President Trump has been able to get away with basically saying that all Venezuelan migration in the last 4 years actually equaled an invasion by a foreign government. He's not had to actually prove that. And when you look at the numbers of Venezuelans who migrated, right, it was a hemispheric crisis. It was the biggest recorded refugee crisis in this hemisphere. It was not an orchestration by the Venezuelan government, so that's just factual. So it was a relief to see a judge step in and really question his use of wartime authority. And hopefully, you'll hear Congress also support this judge, because at the end of the day, these judges are being challenged in these orders, but this is a clear ruling on the merits, and I imagine it goes to the Supreme Court very soon.
It certainly will, for undoubtedly. But people who may be thinking, well, this is a recent thing that Trump has been doing with the Alien Enemies Act. He's actually been talking about this as part of his overall plan for quite some time, including on the campaign trail. I want you to listen to what he had to say.
The Alien Enemies Act of 1798. See how far back we have to go? Because they didn't play games back then. Can you imagine? We have to go back to 1798. That's when they ran the country a little tougher, I guess. To expedite removals of Dread Day, Aragua, and other savage gangs, I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Can you believe that? We couldn't have an act like that now, because now everything's woke.
Well, this is all on the campaign trail, of course, and the judges are deciding the issue as of today and in the year 2025 and beyond. But he has other mechanisms to try to enforce immigration policy, but he is choosing to use this, and the courts are saying this is not the mechanism. Why is he persisting, do you think?
Because it's if he were using it and the courts were to go along with it, saying it is lawful or that it is allowed, it would be a faster mechanism for him to be able to deport a mass amount of people, specifically Venezuelan nationals, because it's a Tren de Aragua Venezuelan gang. And so that's who, to reach his deportation numbers, the president is looking for other mechanisms, ones that have not been used in the way that he's using them, or the way that they've been used in the past. Alien enemies has only ever been used during wartime and actual wartime authority. And one thing that's striking about the judge's ruling today, I thought, was when he says that the president does not possess the lawful authority to not just detain Venezuelan aliens,
I'll
but
do
also
it.
he cannot transfer them within the United States. And that first stuck out because of the fact that there was some speculation that the Supreme Court decided to rule in last minute saying you cannot deport these Venezuelan nationals from this specific part of Texas because there was a concern that the administration was trying to find a loophole, essentially move some Venezuelans from one detention center to another detention center so that way they could deport them to El Salvador. And this judge today is saying you do not have the authority to even transfer them within the United States, that your entire use of this law is not accurate.
And also moving around to go around the due process that's owed to everyone in this entire proceeding. I want to play for you all what Vice President J.D. Vance had to say tonight about how he thinks this will ultimately end up.
First of all, the judge doesn't make that determination whether the Alien Enemies Act can be deployed. I think the President of the United States is the one who determines whether this country is being invaded, and under the Biden administration it was. We're aggressively appealing this stuff. We do think that the higher appeals courts, and in particular the Supreme Court, is going to recognize immigration enforcement is a core function of the President of the United States. If you tell the President he's not allowed to deport illegal criminals, then you're telling the President he's not allowed to be the President. If you reject that,
will the Supreme Court see it the way Vice President does? I just don't think so. I think any lawyer understands that the immigration system provides multiple legal ways for this administration to deport people who might be threats to public safety and national security. But immigration law under criminal justice system requires proof. It requires due process.
They want to please alien enemies exactly what Laura said. They want to, have a rapid mechanism to not have to follow any other existing law. They want to, suspend an emergency power. It's really dangerous. You saw them do this in the first administration, right? They used public health law to suspend immigration to the United States. Now they're going to wartime authorities. And as you said earlier, we talked about this on the campaign, but he really set this out from day one. And he said, we are being invaded. All of migration under President Biden was an invasion. But we believe he's really misleading the public. You can deport people under current laws. You do not need a wartime authority. And you do not need to leave these over 200 people stranded in a Salvadorian prison. I don't think people realize this one point, which many of them were actually already in a detention center. And they want the public to believe that they were a danger. They were already being detained. They just transfer them to a much worse foreign prison where the conditions can be monitored. So it's really being dishonest.
As the president said, they're due a process, not so the due process. Quickly, Laura, on the numbers game. He wants people to believe that he's meeting the metrics he laid out early in his administration. He's not.
He's not. I mean, Tom Coleman, his borders are, has even said that they aren't reaching the numbers that they want to. And that's why you're also seeing them restrict legal immigration heavily. And also take away and revoke student visas and different legal status for immigrants who are here legally. And that's because it's all an effort to reach deportation numbers. They've launched an aggressive self-deportation campaign encouraging immigrants to self-deport, and other immigration lawyers I've talked to say that that they think that is all legal.
Undocumented migrants to self-deport, but also legal here. Laura, Andrea, thank you so much. Both of you. Up next, federal court leading a protest against Trump's rule on camera. Eric, how strict is against the administration?
And then 55 of our national party focusing on the global it's not going to go away. We're here here in our guys and guys who are here again. The federal
Alright, so that's one pair of glasses. Yep. Which is for one. There was one behind setting. Oh, subscribers and subscribers. UV protection. Oh, total limit. That's all from me. Free returns, free exchanges, and free frame protection for life. How much more is that?
Freedom. Every freedom is a war. One man's in. So choose. But choose wisely. Choose what makes you happy. My friends, my family, my work, what you have. This peace makes me happy.
Friday nights, you bring your A game. Flirty walks, you bring your A game. Bring your A game when taking care of your sexual wellness and include Altitude, a prescription medicine used to reduce the risk of HIV. Altitude helps you maintain stimulus protection of skin and every other month, and it's proven superior to once daily PrEP that reduces the risk of HIV. Take HIV negative to receive Altitude and get extra different each injection. If you think you're exposed to HIV or have flu-like symptoms, see your doctor right away. More HIV testing taking place. Altitude does not prevent other sexually transmitted infections. Practice safer steps to reduce your risk. The Altitude is studied. Missing doses increases your HIV risk. Don't take Altitude in the local store or taking certain medications. Tell your doctor about your medical conditions, liver problems, and mental health. Serious side effects include allergic reactions or depression. Using drugs, get medical help right away. The most common side effect is injection site reactions. You bring your pain to everything you do. Your doctor must do.
Better breathing with the camera. Treatment for every 8 weeks.
Get help for swelling of your face, mouth, tongue, or trouble breathing. Don't stop your asthma treatments without talking with your doctor. Tell your doctor if your asthma worsens or you have a parasitic infection. Headache and sore throat may occur. Ask your doctor if Fasenra is right for you. She's really getting up there. Yeah, she is.
I don't feel your age. At your age. Ask her,
Let's do it, Zach.
I'm pressing for our T-Mobile home internet commercial. We gotta talk really fast.
T-Mobile home internet ranks #1 in customer satisfaction for home wireless internet.
Wow, you're good. Get T-Mobile home internet. That's $55 a month with our 5-year price guarantee.
Sometimes you just need one. Self-care has never been this easy. Gummy vitamins from Nature Made. The #1 pharmacist recommended vitamin and supplement drug.
It's happening now through Monday at Rooms to Go. Shop 100 perfect mix, each just $9.99 or less. Picture your home or refurnished to your style. With living rooms, bedrooms, and dining rooms, each for $9.99 or less. So many stylish options, each $9.99 or less. And it gets even better. Finance for $22 or less per month. Interest free until March 2029. Don't wait. Offer ends Monday at Rooms to Go.
This is Paul. He never really thought Michael was credit until he got credit cards and used his credit score to use on them. By putting in the work to improve his score, he had access to a better credit card aimed at social schools. And when it came time to buy a home of his own, Credit Karma helps him take things to the next level. Just think confidence into a Credit Karma. Karma you can count on. Download the app today.
Smells amazing.
Oh my gosh. That is so good.
Should we dig in?
Camelot Warriors, searching for Spain, Sunday at 9 on CNN.
From coast to coast, thousands took to the streets in May Day protests. This against the administration's policies targeting immigrants and federal workers. And tonight, one Democrat is taking his party's fight directly to Donald Trump. Literally.
We are the last and the best hope for this country, just as this country remains the last and the best hope for this earth. What we do right now, at this moment of truth for America, will forever define our future, our faith, and our fortune as a country. So, Alabama, no pressure, but we cannot just one up. Are you with me on that?
That was Texas Democrat Beto O'Rourke at the Tide Against Trump rally tonight held by the University of Alabama College Democrats, not too far down the road from where President Trump was delivering a commencement address. And he didn't care to take on the president in deep red Alabama because he says Democrats need to, quote, organize everywhere. You recall that Beto lost his last 2 races in Texas for Senate and also governor. That has not stopped him from coming to his party's aid in their moment of need. Beto O'Rourke joins me now. Congressman, thank you for being here. I mean, we've been seeing protests. We've been seeing Democrats holding town halls. Which do you think is more effective, and what's it accomplishing?
Everything all at once, fight on every single front. You know, Trump right now is as weak as a president can be, but he's masquerading as a strong man. This blizzard of executive orders, this worldwide so-called reciprocal tariff that's just absolutely devastating the American economy. These weird, strange ideas like consuming Canada as the 51st state or invading Greenland or Panama. We can puncture that veil of invincibility or inevitability by rising up. And that's what people in Tuscaloosa, Alabama did today. And look, it's one thing when you do this in the typical places that Democrats or folks who are opposed to Trump congregate. And I think we should do it in those places. But it's another thing altogether to do it in places like Alabama or Mississippi or Texas, where I'm from. I mean, that's where the fight is. That's where he's hurting people more than anyone else. Cutting healthcare in Alabama, cutting education funding in Alabama, cutting access to the VA in Alabama, and in the cradle of modern American democracy, right here in Alabama, attacking voting rights and adding more voter suppression and voter intimidation. We have to fight back, and we have to do it now. We cannot wait until 2026.
You talked often about the idea of a larger tent or the big tent party and trying to envelop people who would not be maybe considered to vote in the way that you'd like, but this is one mechanism. And you spoke at that rally tonight in a state that Trump won actually by nearly 30 points. And in doing so, you also took aim at your own party, saying that they're too focused on blue wall swing states and not red states. So how do you get Democrats to change their approach?
You know, by 2032, after this next census, the Democratic nominee can win every single blue wall state. But if they don't start winning the Sun Belt states like Texas, they're not going to win the White House. So we've got to start investing, organizing, and registering and mobilizing voters today. In 2025, if we want to win in 2026, 2028, 2030, and 2032. You know, Democrats have a problem where we show up literally in the election year. Republicans, and we can learn something from them, have patiently and persistently built power from the bottom up for decades. And look, it is really working. So let's learn how to do that. We're doing that with Powered by People in Texas, but let's also show up in the moment. And so when Trump Alabama invite you to be there, that's the easiest yes I've ever given.
Well, a recent CNN poll, to your point, found that the approval rating of Democratic leaders in Congress, it sits, Beto, at just 27%. You have the DNC Vice Chair David Hogg, who wants to primary what he calls ineffective Democrats. And then you had James Carville, who had this to say to him. Listen.
I think
we did it, Joe. We did it.
A political party who is being paid or supported by that political party to go out and raise money to defeat members of the same party. I think that's jackassery of the highest level. Win elections. Win elections. You see, against Republicans. Don't do it. Let me finish, okay? Let me finish. You want my strategy. It is to win elections. It's not to win an election in Queens.
Does he have a point?
You know what? It's interesting. I think Carville and Hogg have made amends, and they agree that we need to fight right now. I don't think that the decision is whether we need to be more moderate or protect older members or have newer members in. The decision is a binary one. Are we going to fight or are we going to surrender? And the people of this country want to see us fight. Not just fight against Donald Trump, but to fight for them and to replace his cruelty, his incompetence, and his corruption with service that delivers for every single American, no matter where you are, including right here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So to answer your question, Laura, if we've got folks who are in these seats who aren't fighting, who aren't getting the job done, who aren't presenting the opposition that we need at this moment, they need to get out of the way or they need to be primaried out of the way. And we need to replace them with fighters who are going to show up, win big elections, and take power back, not just for Democrats, but for this country.
Really quick, give me a name. Who leads the Democratic Party today?
I tell you what, I love the people who are out there. I love that Bernie's out there, that AOC is out there, that Tim Walz is out there. And even more than them, these University of Alabama students who didn't wait for direction from D.C., didn't ask a political leader to tell them what to do. It's everyday American people who are rising up right now. The power is with people. That's how we're going to win this.
A lot of cooks in that kitchen. Federal Lawrence, thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura.
All right, picture this. Right, you own a toy store. It's been in your family's business for decades. And now you're thinking that this trade war means you may not have any toys to sell come Christmas. Well, my next guest is living that real-life business nightmare with a shirt.
The biggest festival of the year is now extended. CNN_deal. It's your last chance for exclusive deals in home, beauty, cooking, and more. CNN_deal. CNN_.com/deal.
Twitter. That's great name.
No one could possibly have understood where it was going.
Twitter, Waking the Bird, now streaming on Max.
You know what they say. You get out, what you put in. 2 steps ahead, being a step ahead. We've got big goals in this kingdom. I built this level by level, box by box. And I've reached the top. New game, same dedication. No ads, ever. I don't even need Wi-Fi. No risk, no rewards. It's time to level up. This is Royal Kingdom. You think this is a game? It is.
If you have generalized myasthenia gravis, picture what life could look like with Vidya Hytrulo, a subcutaneous injection that takes about 30 to 90 seconds. For one thing, could it mean more time for you? Vidya Hytrulo can improve daily abilities and reduce muscle weakness with a treatment plan that's personalized to you. Do not use Vidya Hytrulo if you have a serious allergy to any of its ingredients. It can cause serious allergic reactions like trouble breathing and decrease in blood pressure, leading to fainting and allergic reactions such as rashes, swelling under the skin, shortness of breath, and hives. The most common side effects are respiratory and urinary tract infections, headache, and injection site reactions. It may increase the risk of infusion-related reactions and infection. Tell your doctor if you have a history of infections or symptoms of an infection. Talk to your neurologist about Vidya Hytrulo for GMG and picture your life in motion.
Looks like allergy season is, which can be fatal. Stop Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, trouble breathing, or increased ketones. Jardiance may cause dehydration that can suddenly worsen kidney function and make you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or weak upon standing. Genital yeast infections in men and women, urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, or a rare life-threatening bacterial infection between and around the anus and genitals can occur. Call your doctor right away if you have fever or feel weak or tired, and pain, tenderness, swelling, or redness in the genital area. Don't use if allergic to Jardiance. Stop use if you have a serious allergic reaction. Call your doctor if you have rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swelling. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet. Jardiance is really swell, a little pill with a big story to tell.
So, you really need to see your LDL-C come down to lower your risk of another heart attack.
I'm afraid we have to do more.
Like what? Already exercise, take my statin, eat cake. I can tell you're trying, but there's a high chance you'll have another heart attack.
I don't want to go through that again.
What else can we do? Let's add Repap.
Repap plus a statin dramatically lowers LDL-C by 63% and drops the risk of having a heart attack by 27%. Do not take Repap if you're allergic to it. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Common side effects include runny nose, sore throat, common cold symptoms, flu or flu-like, back pain, high blood sugar, and redness, pain, or bruising at the injection site.
So, I have your latest blood work here, and we did it. Your LDL-C came way down.
Listen to your heart. Lower your LDL-C and your risk with Repatha. Talk to your doctor.
My Happy Place, Sunday at 10 on CNN.
Closed captioning brought to you by Mesobook.com.
If you or a loved one have mesothelioma, we'll send you a free book to answer questions you may have. Call now, and we'll come to you.
800-821-4000.
A controversial Bill Belichick interview and a LeBron comment on retirement. You know what that calls for? Hot Topics Sports Edition. Joining me now, Fox Sports analyst Rachel Nichols, one of our favorites. Good to have you here, Rachel. I got to start with what everyone's talking about, that CBS Bill Belichick interview. I want to play the viral moments. It's gotten a lot, pushback. Listen to this.
You have Jordan right over there. So we're good to go. Everybody in the world seems to be following this relationship. You've got an opinion about your private life. It's got nothing to do with them, but they're invested in it. How do you deal with that?
Never been too worried about what everybody else thinks. Just try to do what I feel like is best for me and what's right.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about those.
No.
No, apparently not. What's going on here? How do you see this?
Look, this has been the talk of the sports world. I've had Bill Belichick's former players texting me, being like, what is happening? I mean, I've sat in hundreds of press conferences with this man. You cannot get a colorful anecdote out of him to save your life. And now he is posing for pictures with his 24-year-old girlfriend, and she's in a mermaid outfit, and he's like a fisherman reeling her in. I mean, there's some insane photos going around. And the behavior you see here is really something that brings up this control issue, right?
Is she controlling the narrative here? Is she controlling him at all? And for a guy who has been so famously in control for his whole career, that is what is so jarring. What we know about her so far is she's 24. She was a college cheerleader. She has her cosmetology license. Her dad is only 48 years old. Bill Belichick, by the way, is in his 70s. And he is a fisherman who lost his business. Jordan's mom has a sex shop and museum on Cape Cod. So this story just gets more interesting every time you look at it. And apparently it's going to keep going because there she is out there.
Oh, people aren't talking about this at all, particularly knowing how Belichick, presents himself to the world through the football experience. But I do wonder, are people being condescending about this man? Is he just living his life and that we're invested in the gossipy aspects of it? Or is there some genuine cause for concern that people are sharing with you?
Look, if he was doing this privately, I think that would be one thing. But he himself and she herself has very much made this a public topic of conversation. Bill Belichick was married for basically 30 years. We never heard from his wife. We never saw photos. We never knew what was going on there. Then he had a different girlfriend for about 15 years. And Laura, she was only 20-something years younger than him. So, appropriate. And now we have someone who's about 50 years younger than him. And we have these photos out there, and she's not only a part of these interviews like you just showed, but she's at practice with him. So they are putting this out there for discussion, and people are discussing it.
Well, Belichick responded at one point with a statement through UNC, of course, where he coaches, saying in part, the interview, quote, presents selectively edited clips and stills from just a few minutes of the interview to suggest a false narrative that Jordan was attempting to control the conversation, which is simply not true. But then it gets interesting. CBS hit back with their own statement, Rachel, saying, quote, there were no preconditions or limitations to this conversation and that it was confirmed repeatedly. So what do you think? Was this a fair cut? Who do you believe?
Well, I've never seen Bill Belichick speak the way that he spoke in that statement, so I don't know if the UNC public relations staff put that together. I don't know if Jordan put that together, but that is not the kind of sentence flow I have ever heard from him and covering him for decades. So, you know how it is with interviews, Laura. You've done plenty. There is sometimes some remorse afterward. And again, she is 24. She is very much running his businesses. She is running his PR. She is not a seasoned pro at this. And this was clearly a bit of an error to do all of this in front of the cameras. And we'll see where she goes from here.
We'll see, because people are going to still talk about this. I want to talk to you about LeBron as well. Shifting gears, different sport, different vibe entirely. After the Lakers lost yesterday, he said this when asked how many more years we will get to see him play.
I don't know the answer to that right now, to be honest. So, let me see.
He limped off the court yesterday, but he didn't say no. Is the door cracked open?
Oh, I think it definitely is. I was there yesterday in the room for that press conference. Look, LeBron always says this these days at the end of the year. He's 40 years old. He finally got to play with his son this year, as you and I have talked about. So there was an idea that maybe this would be his last season. And then the Lakers traded for Luka Doncic, who is considered a generational 26-year-old superstar. And that is going to extend LeBron's career, if he wants it, perhaps not just to next year, Laura, but the following year when his other son, Bryce, will be eligible to play in the NBA. LeBron's wife, Savannah, has already said she hopes he plays the 2 more years so he can play with Bryce. So, look, we hear LeBron at the end of seasons these days, a little bit of that lethal weapon, Danny Murtaugh, I'm too old for this stuff. But he tends to relax after a couple weeks, get into basketball again. And last night he was already starting to sort of detox from things. He was seen at a restaurant in Beverly Hills here until 4 a.m, sipping some wine and, getting a little separation from the loss. And I would think that he would be back. I would certainly put my money on that one.
Well-deserved break. And, of course, him at 40 is better than some 16-year-olds, frankly, in terms of everything else. So, hey, Mr. Nichols, nice to talk to you. Excellent. See you soon, Laura. Hey, before we go tonight, be sure to check out Eva Longoria's cross-country culinary adventure in Spain. This week, she explores Andalusia, the birthplace of tapas. Eva Longoria, Searching for Spain, airs Sunday at 9 p.m., only right here on CNN. Hey, thank you all for watching. Anderson Cooper 360 is next.
Tonight on 360, the president had 4 national security advisors in his first term. Now he's on his second this time around. Mike Waltz, we've just shown the door, and J.D.
Hmm.
Signal when he shouldn't have.
China are underway. Officials in Beijing have repeatedly said they're not, but remain open to the possibility. And on Friday, an unnamed spokesperson at the Commerce Ministry said Beijing had taken note and was evaluating recent statements by White House officials that they would be willing to negotiate over tariffs. Let's take a look at how markets in Asia are reacting to the news. It's gone up. There's all positive territory there. The Nikkei in Tokyo up by almost 1%. Hong Kong up by more than 1.5%. The Seoul Kospi up just a touch as well. Shanghai is closed. Now, they have been looking for some chance here that there will be a breakthrough around the world, of a breakthrough in Donald Trump's tariff war. And maybe this is how some are seeing this statement from Beijing. Let's go to Beijing now. CNN's Mark Stewart. He is live for us. So, Mark, for a start, government offices are actually closed. It's the Labor Day holiday there across China, which presents its own unique challenges in the reporting here. But explain the wording of this statement and what it may indicate.
Right, John, we were just talking about it among colleagues. The fact this came out at 8 a.m. on a Friday of a holiday weekend really does say a lot. But if we look at the messaging here, it's very much message received and nothing more. Because as you know from your time reporting in China, the last thing that Beijing wants is to appear as if the United States is telling it what it can and cannot do on what terms and what kind of timeline. So the response that we have received from Beijing is, well, for lack of better words, very diplomatic and very precise. In the sense it doesn't want anyone to perhaps read further in the lines. Let me read to you just a portion of it. It simply says the U.S. has recently sent messages to China through relevant parties hoping to start talks with China. China is currently evaluating this. It's assessing this, and that's where Beijing stands right now. No timetable, no indication of what would be a next step, no indication if we would see any kind of further meetings. Because it was just days ago, earlier this week, that once again Beijing has portrayed and really projected a very defiant stance toward the United States. We saw a video released from the government talking about how China won't kneel down, how bullies are paper tigers, a veiled reference to the United States. Neither side wants to appear as if it's making the first move. As we have heard from the White House, President Trump feels China should make the first move. And China certainly does not want to ever be seen on the global stage as well as within the country as perhaps caving in as far as backing down. As far as markets are concerned, as you mentioned, we are seeing a lot of green. I think we are at a moment in time right now where observers are watching this feud between the world's two largest economies, looking for any kind of positive sign that would give things a boost. We are seeing gains today, slight gains in the Nikkei and in the Hang Seng, as well as Seoul. Of course, South Korea and Japan, these big automotive centers, which are dealing with tariffs of their own. But John, perhaps this is the first step in a much larger, longer trade battle that we could see unfold. No clear indication of when resolution will take place, but as you said, this is a soft move by Beijing to indicate that perhaps it is willing to have a broader conversation here.
And Mark, to the Beijing, thank you. It is such an indication of how tense things are right now. Everyone's looking for any kind of indication that this trade war could come to an end. Thanks for being with us.
Now to the first major shake-up of Donald Trump's second term.
With the White House National Security Team in apparent disarray over Signalgate, President Trump has removed National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. He'll be heading to the UN as U.S. ambassador, assuming he is approved by Senate confirmation. The move comes after Waltz admitted. Mistakenly included a journalist to a single chat group with senior administration officials discussing plans to attack Houthi rebels in Yemen. Signal is not authorized by the White House to be used for high classified discussions. Vice President J.D. Vance says, don't call this a demotion.
So once let go, he is being made ambassador to the United Nations, which of course is a Senate-confirmed position. I think he can make a good argument that it's a promotion. The media wants to frame this as a firing. Donald Trump has fired a lot of people. He doesn't give them Senate-confirmed appointments afterwards. What he thinks is that Mike Waltz is going to better serve the administration, most importantly, the American people in that role.
Images from Wednesday's cabinet meeting show Waltz browsing through Signal app. Messages on his phone, including ones from the Vice President and Director.
You don't do that, that you have our conversation.
Intelligence. The White House says Signal is an approved app that's loaded onto government phones, but it is not approved for top secret information. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will take over the role of National Security Advisor on a temporary basis. He's also serving as acting administrator of the U.S. Agency for International Development and as well as the National Archives. Meantime, a U.S. official tells CNN the Pentagon Inspector General is looking into a second Signal chat in which Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth discussed military planning. This one included his wife, brother, and personal lawyer. More details now from CNN's Jeff Zeleny reporting in from the White House.
In one of the first big staff shakeups of this new Trump administration, President Trump sending his national security advisor, Mike Walls, to the United Nations and sending Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, into the West Wing to be the temporary national security advisor. This has been long in the works. Mike Walls, who, of course, initiated the one of the biggest scandals of this administration with the group chat on Signal about those war plans in Yemen a couple months ago, the president finally decided that it was time to send him away. Now, this was a decision that could have been reached quite a while ago, but we are told that the president of the White House did not want to essentially give the satisfaction to the Atlantic magazine or other reporters who had written skeptically.
Goodness, what happened to that beautiful lady? Did she get sick on this boat? Did she pass out? Is she having a medical issue? Did she get heat stroke? No. This woman refused to get off of this boat and caused people to get sick, to have to sit in the heat for long periods of time, while she sat there like a 5-year-old with her arms folded, refusing to get off of this boat. As you can see, the police had to come and physically remove her from her seat. Now, she and her mom and her son, who is about 8 or 10 years old, are passengers on the Carnival Glory. This is them getting ready to go on an excursion. Now, if you've cruised before, you know when you go on the excursion, you have to get wristbands. Her mom and her son did not have wristbands, and they were asked to get off of the boat. She refused. She even made herself heavy, stiff, and made it hard for them to remove her. So this woman police officer slid her over in her seat, got her down on the ground, lifted her up underneath her arms. This other policeman came, and they carried her off of the boat because she refused to move. Meanwhile, her child is off of the boat on the side, watching all of this, completely embarrassed, and he is in tears. This is her son standing with someone that works at the dock while they are trying to get her up off of the boat. You can see that he's clearly saddened. I know he's embarrassed, and I know this is ruining his vacation, and this is something that's going to... Hey! So many of you may be looking at this picture and wondering, oh my goodness.
Mike Walls will be elevated, if you will, but it's a Senate-confirmed position to be the ambassador to the United Nations. But for the president, it is not a position that he is that interested in. He has never thought very highly of the UN, to say the least. So there's no doubt that Marco Rubio, a one-time rival to Donald Trump, now is one of his closest advisors. He'll be working just steps away from the Oval Office, as well as being Secretary of State. But the bottom line to all of this is, in this big shakeup of this administration, the president clearly wanted to keep Mike Walls on the line, if you will, by giving him this other position. He well remembers the 4 national security advisors from his first administration. 2 of them wrote very harsh books about the president. So the president does not want that narrative to set in. The also thing, the administration, one administration official telling us the president was eager to change the conversation about the economy to be talking about this. Jeff Zeleny, CNN, the White House.
Beth Sano is a CNN national security analyst and a former deputy director of national intelligence, and she is with us this hour from Washington. Beth, thank you for being with us.
I'm so happy to be here.
Okay, up until now, at least publicly, the president seemed to support this national security advisor, also downplaying the risks and the seriousness of using the unsecured messenger app Signal. Is President Trump?
He's a very good man,
and he will continue to do a good job. It's equipment and technology that's not perfect, and probably he won't be using it again, at least not in the very near future. I don't think it was important. I think it's fake news.
So did something happen for the president to change his mind? Some have also said that Waltz was a dead man walking even without the signal controversy. So what's your take on what actually happened?
Yeah, I think that the signal controversy is really not at all what President Trump worries about. I think he worries about the fact that it made his administration look like it was fumbling and not organized and that it made a mistake. That is a problem, but I don't think this is like punishment or accountability for that signal chat. I think it has much more to do with the idea that Waltz was not of the same mind as the president was, and that he was not really performing the duties well in terms of his ability to interact and drive the president's policy, and that's kind of what the role is. I think there was a clip or an article today about J.D. Vance saying that he had, in Iceland, he's saying he had counseled Waltz about working better with people, and that's kind of the job.
Well, Waltz was fired on day 102 of Trump's second term. On day 101, just like every other member of cabinet, Waltz has nothing but lavish praise for the boss. Here he is.
Mr. President, for the last 4 years, the world experienced a total lack of zero leadership under Biden, and then we had 100 days of your leadership with respect.
Sugar-free. Right inside of your cake mix. This is sugar-free cherry Coke and sugar-free. Right inside of your cake mix.
With strength, starting with they'll be all held okay.
He did last longer in the job than Michael Flynn, who was the first senior White House official fired by Trump during his first term. 3 other national security advisors followed him. So in broad terms, explain the role of the national security advisor. How important is it? And what does a high turnover in that job, how does that impact the presidency?
Well, that job is really central to all national security decision making. And that person's role is really twofold. One is to advise the president on foreign policy, national security, and to be that person who's closest to him, who will go in and tell him what's going on and give him advice. The second thing is really about process. And that's where the whole National Security Council comes in, that this person their duty is to make sure that the whole national security team understands and follows the president's wishes, and that those wishes are implemented in foreign policies throughout all the agencies. I actually think it was probably a good idea to fire him, because if you have a person that you do not trust is on the same page as you are on key foreign policy issues, for example, Iran, I think they're on very different pages, then, maybe this person can't execute your policy no matter how much flattery they do in public.
It was notable that Waltz was one of a dozen senior White House officials, the entire national security team, if you like, who were on that group chat with him. So glad there's only been this one firing. But where the defense secretary continues to have the complete and total support of the president, at least publicly, just for this.
I want to thank the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, who's doing a really great job. He's a tough cookie. They don't know how tough he is, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. Hegseth is doing a great job. He had nothing to do with this.
When it comes to Hegseth, there doesn't seem to be the backroom chatter about his imminent demise like that has been about waltz. So if one person, and only one person, needs to be fired over Signalgate, should have it been the defense secretary.
Yeah, so I don't think it was about Signalgate for number one, but if it was, yeah, no, it shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been Walt. It should have been Hegseth, because he's the one who took the chat from being an organizational chat, which was everybody check your classified systems and look for a paper we're going to discuss. And Hegseth is the one, and J.D. Vance are the ones that made this conversation a classified conversation, and Hegseth is the one that shared the classified information. So, yeah, that is absolutely the case. Signal is not safe for taking around information if your device or the environment where you're using your device is compromised.
Beth, thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate your insights and your experience as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
How to de-escalate an escalating crisis between two nuclear-armed neighbours. Up next, the US steps in as Pakistan and India inch closer to a direct confrontation after last week's deadly terror attack in Kashmir. CNN reports from the region for a moment. And the Israeli Prime Minister publicly declares his overall goal of the war in Gaza, sparking outrage as he falls in line with the far-right extremists in his coalition government.
90% of the children living near border areas are aware of the safety measures, but we still need to make sure that they understand the need to keep themselves and their juniors safe.
A week after a brutal attack killed 26 civilians in Pahalgam, some survivors still in hospital.
I heard 2 gunshots and saw a large gathering of people. When I reached the firing site, I rescued 3 individuals. We could not see a lot. We fled immediately after hearing gunshots.
India says it identified the attackers. 2 of them, they claim, are from Pakistan and is blaming Islamabad, promising revenge.
India will identify and punish every terrorist and stand back on. He will patrol the hand from God.
Pakistan also warning India's retaliatory move to end a previously inviolate decades-old border-sharing agreement would be an act of war if they followed through. Tensions ratcheting up Wednesday. Pakistan's Minister of Information warning India was planning an imminent attack, asked by CNN Thursday. He demurred on details.
Can you share what that intelligence is?
We had very reliable, very authentic intelligence at the operational level, of which the operational details cannot be shared, but we had confirmed reports that India will attack Pakistan, and this is not the first time.
Along the tense frontier, tourists are returning close to the scene of the attack. The security, however, much tighter than before. A sudden escalation in historic tensions.
Actually, we knew about the terrorist attack, but we still decided to come here. And we feel very safe when we come here. There are many army shooting days and nights to protect us. So we feel very safe and calm here.
US, China and UN officials are urging calm, hoping, as it has in the past, diplomacy will prevail. But these 2 nuclear-armed neighbors have blown past international interventions before. Thursday, India taking tensions a tiny notch up, banning Pakistani airlines from their airspace, matching Pakistan's move last week. Nick Robertson, CNN, Islamabad, Pakistan.
A Russian airstrike on Zaporizhzhia in Ukraine has killed 1 person, wounded 8 others. According to Ukrainian officials, the strike left private homes and residential buildings in flames Thursday night. At least 1 person was left believed trapped under the rubble, with emergency crews working to try and reach him. And denials from Ukraine that civilians in the Russian-occupied part of the Kherson region were actually targeted. Russia says 7 people were killed in a drone strike on a market southeast of the city of Kherson on Thursday. Ukraine says it did not strike the market. Also says the attack only hit military personnel who were hiding.
Portal sources tell CNN that new intelligence suggests Vladimir Putin may have shifted his short-term priorities to Ukraine. Until recently, intelligence officials thought Putin might have enough momentum to seize all of Ukraine. But now, US and Western officials say Putin wants to focus on holding territory which he already controls. They say he also wants to improve relations with the United States and help Russia's struggling economy. In addition, senior US officials say even if Putin signs a peace deal, he may try to resume the war at a later date. But it's just into CNN, a Gaza Freedom facility says one of its ships is on fire. A report claims that a drone attack off the coast of Malta in international waters. The group told CNN 30 people were on board the ship when the attack happened just after midnight. They say the vessel now has a hole in its side and is sinking. They issued an SOS so the killer could not accuse any group or government of launching the strike. CNN cannot independently verify the information that we are receiving as well as the news. When we return, a federal judge says President Trump exceeded his authority while cracking down on immigration. Details of that ruling and what it actually means moving forward.
Sounds like the Lost are mobilizing their troops.
Do you have a box of videotapes, film reels, or photos that are degrading? Legacy Box professionally converts them to DVDs, thumb drives, or the cloud. Legacy Box is simple and stable, with over 1 million satisfied customers. Visit LegacyBox.com today to get our $9 offer. Grits, chocolate cake.
You're gonna get sick. You need pumpkin.
I love pumpkin.
It's not food, it's pet insurance. So when you get hurt or sick and you need expensive medicine or surgery,
Pet insurance from Pumpkin can help.
go to pumpkin.care.
Discover the land of the rising sun, from the vibrant streets of Tokyo to the enchanting landscapes. Come explore Japan with CNN. My first friendship bracelet. And experience the best of this rich nation. A desire to create timeless beauty everywhere. Appreciate the opportunity to sit down with you.
An epic adventure to Japan's remote farms.
Join me, Larry Madowo, as I introduce you to Africa's trendsetters. See how they use their talent, resources, and passion to make a difference on the continent. This is African Voices Changemakers.
From stadiums to classrooms, these two leaders are shaping the entrepreneurial ecosystem of Africa for the better. African Voices Changemakers on CNN.
The whole story behind this movie is a 5-time winner for long-form journalism. CNN's best journalists share deeply reported stories.
Where that exists of my work. People still have to make a living despite drought conditions here.
This week, Nick Peyton Welch visits the Amazon to witness how technology can some of its most remote communities. What's the real price of the
Full force of that technology is landing here today.
The whole story with Anderson Cooper, Sunday on CNN.
I'm Rafael Romo in Rome. This is CNN.
Connections across Africa are reshaping business, creating opportunities like never before. On Connecting Africa. Follow the network of deals, smart conversations, and people transforming business to bring the continent together.
This month, Connecting Africa through energy.
Africa is a continent of contrasts when it comes to energy.
Connecting Africa, only on CNN, in association with Afrexim Bank.
Understand the world, you need the truth. This is the largest measles outbreak in 30 years. This is why we follow the facts wherever they lead. From the inside story, their lives now are forever changed.
President Trump is serious about the threats that he's making.
From an outside perspective, we follow what matters to you, forging a path to the truth and a better understanding of our world.
You know, next day, it's a dealership of one universe. Super people in that book. I've always hated music with mellow.
Hey, son,
Before you get married, we need to have a talk.
Not right now, Dad. I need to go for my vows.
Is Elf Duncan going to talk to me about
Spending a budget will be back. I heard that you won that long shot parlay, but that you had a little sense. Just because you win big once doesn't mean you figured it all out. Celebrating love. That is what today is all about. At ESPN, we believe the best play is a smart play. This isn't just a box of Plan B. It's a backup plan I can count on wherever I live. One I can buy online and pick up in store, or get delivered same day. This isn't just a box of Plan B. It's proof that I've got this.
This is CNN. More people get their news from CNN than any other news source.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm John Bors. Let's take a look at today's top stories.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has newly angered the families of hostages held in Gaza. During remarks on Israel's Independence Day, he said its informants bring home those hostages, but claimed the supreme objective of the war is victory over our enemies. That means Hamas. Donald Trump has removed his national security advisor, Mike Waltz, in the wake of the single chat scandal, but the US president says he will nominate Waltz to be ambassador to the UN. Waltz admitted he mistakenly added a journalist to a group chat on Signal about military plans in Yemen. And it appears the European Union is making progress towards a trade deal with the US. The deal would involve buying more than $56 billion worth of American products, but the EU's trade commissioner suggests President Trump would still need to abandon his 10% across-the-board tariff on European goods. Another legal setback for the Trump administration with a federal court in South Texas ruling there's no legal basis for mass deportations based on using the 18th Century Aliens Enemy Act. Use of the Aliens Enemies Act is now being challenged in several courts across the country. CNN's Priscilla Alvarez has details on why this ruling is different.
A federal judge in Texas issued a significant blow to the Trump administration and its immigration agenda on Thursday in a ruling that called the invoking of these Alien Enemies Act unlawful. That is an act that the administration has leaned on to swiftly deport migrants out of the United States. Now, the basis of the act, according to administration officials, is that the Venezuelan gang known as Bandera was engaged in an invasion of the United States. But a federal judge appointed by Donald Trump has some doubt on that, saying that the president exceeded his authority by relying on this sweeping wartime authority that has only been used 3 times, and all during wartime. Also, noting that there is no underlying invasion or predatory incursion, which would need to be met for the invoking of the 1798 law. Now, in the ruling, the judge said the following, quote, allowing the president to unilaterally define the conditions when he may invoke the AEA and then summarily declare that those conditions exist would remove all limitation to the executive branch's authority under the AEA and would strip the courts of their traditional role of interpreting congressional statutes to determine whether a government official has exceeded the statute's scope. Now, the American Civil Liberties Union attorney Lee Learn told me in a statement that, quote, this is the first court to squarely rule on the fundamental question of whether wartime authority can be used during peacetime, and properly concluded it cannot. So this is the key difference from the many other legal challenges that have come up with the invoking of this wartime authority. Of course, there have been legal challenges nationwide to block the deportation of migrants who the administration has deemed eligible to be deported under this authority because the administration alleges they have ties to that gang, Tren de Aragua. Now, as far as what this means for the individuals in this district, they cannot be deported under this authority in the Southern District of Texas. Of course, this is likely to be appealed by the Trump administration, but for now it serves, or rather it will be a hurdle for the administration, which up until this point has touted this authority and sought to use it. So Alvarez, CNN, Washington.
Self-driving cars, that's one thing. How about self-driving semis on US freeways and highways? That could be a common sight fairly soon. That story next.
To get this 5-piece bakeware set at $60 value. So we're good. That
And if all these sticks, it's so strange that work, you can't look at it.
Hi, Chef Daniel Green here with my new hammer pans from Gotham Steel. This complete 9-piece set is guaranteed to beautify your kitchen like never before.
Gosh, what I love most about this design is this hammered copper look. It would just look so fantastic hanging in my kitchen.
Wow, this is a beautiful pan. It looks great. Look at those eggs dancing around in there. I tell you, I'm sold. Where do I get these? I love these. Hammer pans are ultra non-stick. Nothing sticks. Even gooey mac and cheese slips out with ease. And look, these sticky candies melted with a torch are no match for hammer pans. Plus, they're super durable, so use metal beaters straight in the pan for a gourmet soup flavors. Let's have a pan that looks just like I hear you. They're even up to 500 degrees. So make homemade chicken salsa and cheesy lasagna or this whole chicken dish. Every recipe looks great in these pans. From snacks and made to delicious desserts and delicate fish, nothing sticks. You know, plus the entire set is dishwasher safe, air fryer free.
Similar sets are also $1,000, and you won't pay that. 500 or 300. But the full these package deals adds up for just one thing. It's a and then even shipping is just like that. Just it was just it was 10 years. Plus, with this free steamer and strainer, and your coffee's big set with every manual as needed to make delicious breads, cakes, and desserts. Together, these are an $80 value. Yours 100% free. It's a huge 15-piece set with free shipping. Color now.
Order call 1-800-807-6648 or go to buyhammer.com. That's 1-800-807-6648 or you can order online at buyhammer.com. I'm Becky Anderson in Abu Dhabi, and this is CNN.
Inside Africa, we see a continent in transformation as trailblazers evolve culture, technology, and industry across Africa and beyond. A new agricultural revolution hits Nigeria as modern technology aids farmers like never before.
I know what farmers face. It is with the power of technology and we can combat those challenges.
Inside Africa on CNN, in association with CNN. There's a chick from Louisiana.
We've heard all the pundits, seen all the hot takes, and read all the headlines. But what's it like to hear from the people actually living the news? I'm Audie Cornish, longtime journalist, and my CNN podcast will break down trending stories, the debates rocking our culture, and talk to the people living the headlines. I've got a lot of questions.
The Assignment with Audie Cornish. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
A new series on CNN. You've seen their names. You gotta surround yourself with people that inspire you. You've seen their work. A visionary is a person who has the ability to think forward and the ability to create the future. Now see what these visionaries are doing to make an impact that lasts. Merging everything from film to fashion to arts to music to plays to theater. Visionaries. Only on CNN. In association with Hyundai. Let's talk business. This is Marketplace Middle East. Where we update you on the latest financial news across the region, from Dubai to Saudi Arabia, Oman to Egypt. Discover what is transforming the region's economic landscape. Join me for the latest trends and innovations, making investing in the Middle East more attractive.
Marketplace Middle East, Saturday on CNN. As you can hear behind me, there's a lot of ongoing fighting between Israeli forces and Hamas militants. One Palestinian man was shot in the leg. We saw him being taken out by ambulance. But now we're seeing more and more Israelis coming out to protest against the current government. And that sound you hear behind me are hundreds of Israelis welcoming those 4 female Israeli soldiers just freed from Hamas captivity. How much is too much, sir? At what point is it time to end this war?
The technology for self-driving cars may not be ready for prime time, at least not yet, but maybe not the case for semi-trailers. On U.S. highways and freeways in Texas, some have seen glimpses of a driverless big rig. Now, the company behind the technology, Aurora, says testing lasted for 4 years. Safety drivers along for the ride all the time, but now the autonomous Aurora driver is on its own. So far, just one truck has delivered goods for 2 customers, but Aurora plans more driverless trucks on the road by year's end. Thank you for watching CNN Newsroom. I'm John Dawes, back with more CNN Newsroom at the top of the hour. In the meantime, please stay with us. World Sports starts after a short break.
Do you have a box of videotapes, film reels, or photos that are degrading? Legacy Box professionally converts them to DVDs, thumb drive, or the cloud. Legacy Box is simple and safe, with over 1 million satisfied customers. Visit legacybox.com.
What are you in for?
I ate a toy. Turns out what goes in
Doesn't always come out.
Why wait for more surprises? Get 90% cash back on eligible vet bills for accidents and illnesses with a Pumpkin Pet Insurance Plan. Visit pumpkin.care.
We try to be global and we try to be smart. But I want to hear authentic voices of people who are passionate, who are intelligent, and that's the consistency that we try to get at.
Fareed Zakaria, GPS, Sundays on CNN.
Join me, Larry McDowell, as I introduce you to Africa's trendsetters. See how they use their talent, resources, and passion to make a difference on the continent. This is African Voices Changemakers.
From stadiums to classrooms, these 2 leaders are shaping the entrepreneurial ecosystem of Africa for the better.
We really want to bridge that divide and have more women entrepreneurs.
African Voices Changemakers on CNN.
The Whole Story with Anderson Cooper is a 5-time Emmy winner for long-form journalism. CNN's best journalists share deeply reported stories.
Where does sports betting sit in the priority list?
People still have to make a living despite the drought conditions here.
This week, Nick Payton-Walsh visits the Amazon to witness how technology is changing some of its most remote communities. What's the real price of being connected?
The full force of that technology is landing here today.
The Whole Story with Anderson Cooper, Sunday on CNN.
I'm Zain Asha, and this is CNN.
If you can keep your head when markets all around you are losing and you can't see a way through, if you can trade and not make money your master, meeting triumph and disaster in equal measure, if you can run with the bulls and not be afraid of the bears, for when we come together, we will make sense of it all. And what is more, my friend, you will be profitable, for you are indeed watching Quest means business.
Get your cameras ready.
Wow. Every single species play a very important role in the whole ecosystem.
Why wouldn't we want our children to fall in love with nature?
We don't have much years to make a difference. Don't give up. Let's do it. We can make it. For the people, health and soul.
Today, we live in an unpredictable environment, and news races around the world at breakneck speed.
How do you feel being in here with these badly wounded soldiers? I was just being criticized for how I looked.
My show brings you the latest news and top news makers.
What do you want people to know about mortality?
These scenes have been the most emotional scenes for Syrians. It's corny to say, but it's about love. It's the only thing worth living for.
Today on CNN. Connections across Africa are reshaping business, creating opportunities like never before. On Connecting Africa, follow the network of deals, smart conversations, and people transforming business to bring the continent together.
This month,
connecting Africa through energy.
Africa is a continent of contrasts when it comes to energy.
Connecting Africa, only on CNN, in association with Afrexim Bank.
Hi there, welcome to Moscow. I think we're all still catching our breath, right, after Wednesday night's enthralling Champions League semi-final. First leg between Barcelona and Inter Milan, 3-3. It ended thrills and spills all the way, and a Lamine Yamal wonder goal that will be talked about for a very long time to come. Let's get to the Basque Country, though, for Thursday night action from the Europa League as Man United travel to face Athletic Bilbao there. Look at those scenes in the Basque Country. But the team boasting the best defence in La Liga would concede when Harry Maguire, the hero of the last gasp win over Lyon the last day, showing wonderful skill there out on the wing. The cross, and it's Casemiro powers home the opener on the half-hour. Minutes later, a key moment as Danny Vivian is adjudged to foul Rasmus Højlund. There is contact, but was it enough for the red card? It's checked, and the decision is not just a penalty, it's a red card too. Bruno Fernandes, you know he's very good at penalties, and so it would prove once again. Cool as you like from 12 yards. United 2-0 up. The home fans far from happy. That's putting it mildly. United in total control. It is Bruno again, keeping his cool. A lovely team move. Nice flick from Manuel Ugarte. And Fernandes finishes off in style. The Red Devils with one foot in the final. They'll take a 3-0 advantage into the second leg next week at Old Trafford. The other English team, Tottenham, taking on the Arctic Circle minnows Bodo Glimt on Thursday night. Dream start for Spurs here. They take the lead inside the very first minute of play. It's Brennan Johnson shocking the Norwegians. Brilliant start for the host and a very nice finish from Johnson himself just past the half-hour mark. Tottenham doubling their advantage. It's James Maddison with a nice finish in the end. It trickles into the back of the net. Spurs well on their way. Dominic Solanke penalty put the Londoners 3-0 up. But Bodo have hope, and here's why. A late time. That could be a very important goal. We'll see. Remember, Bodo once put 6 past Jose Mourinho's Roma at home in the Conference League. 3-1, the final score in North London on Thursday night. Let's get right out to our senior sports analyst, Darren Lewis. Darren, great to have you. And let's start with United Bilbao. Let's talk Harry Deeney. When did Harry Maguire turn into prime Alessandro Del Piero, Darren?
Well, Pat, I choose to call him Harim Yamal because he was absolutely terrific.
That's brilliant. That is brilliant.
A peach of a pass to set up Casemiro and really start the ball rolling for United. And, you know, Patrick, the producers went from the ashes of a quite shambolic season. United are winners of only 6 of their last 23 Premier League matches, but now they're 90 minutes away from a monster chance to make next season's Champions League. And, you know, we laugh about Maguire, but he was part of a terrific performance from Ruben Amorim's side, and it really is a remarkable story because United under Amorim tracking for their lowest position in Premier League history. They've been poor in the domestic cup competition, so you really couldn't make it up. And even in going into this match, you know, they were inconsistent. 1 win from their previous 7 games in all competitions. But surely now they can't blow it from here, Patrick, because in the Premier League, their poor runs kind of made them a little bit of a laughing stock, but they could well have the last laugh in Europe.
Let's talk Spurs Bodo Glimt. I wonder if we'll get an all-English final. We'll see. Now, how do you assess the state of that tie? Because Spurs were coasting. They appeared to be in total control, and they are still in control of the tie, Darren. But that late Bodo goal makes the return leg just a little more interesting, right? Going to the Arctic Circle, having to play there.
It really does, and I was very much like you and many of our viewers. You know, initially I was pleased for under pressure and Postecoglou when his Tottenham side went 3-0 up. But then I looked at the numbers, I looked at that goal, and I have to admit that goal could be an issue, and here's why. Most European clubs from the more fashionable leagues, Pat, they rub their hands with glee when they are drawn against Bodo Glimt. And yet, check this from their home run. They've won 30 of their last 37 matches in front of their own fans in the Arctic Circle, including, as you say, that 6-1 win over Jose Mourinho's Roma, but also Besiktas, 20 Olympiacos, Lazio, all have lost out there this season. And in those matches, Bodo Glimt have scored at least 2 goals. So that goal from their informed striker Saltness, it's a worry for Spurs. He's got 7 in his last 7. I'd be concerned if I was Tottenham. I wouldn't be too complacent.
Yeah, Solness is scoring for fun. He really is. Darren, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your week. All right, so we saw an inspired Harry Maguire there in the build-up to United's first goal. I had the great pleasure, as I mentioned, of a chat with him recently. You can read up on it at the moment, CNN.com Sport. Harry, on the craziest goal of his life in the previous round against Lyon, and the way he's been defying the critics of late to well and truly resurrect his United career. All right, ahead on one-on-one chat with Max Verstappen's new teammate at Red Bull. Remember the name Yuki Tsunoda, why the Japanese youngster is always hungry for success.
Inside Africa, see a continent in transformation as trailblazers evolve culture, technology, and industry across Africa and beyond. A new agricultural revolution hits Nigeria as modern technology aids farmers like never before.
I know what farmers face. It is with the power of technology and we can combat these challenges.
Inside Africa on CNN in association with Zenith Bank.
A new series on CNN. You've seen their names. You got to surround yourself with people that inspire you. You've seen their work. A visionary is a person who has the ability to think forward and the ability to create the future. Now see what these visionaries are doing to make an impact that lasts. Merging everything from film to fashion to art to music to plays to theater. Visionaries only on CNN.
In association with Hyundai.
Let's talk business. This is Marketplace Middle East, where we update you on the latest financial moves across the region, from Dubai to Saudi Arabia, Oman to Egypt. Discover what is transforming the region's economic landscape. Join me for the latest trends and innovations, making investing in the Middle East more attractive.
Marketplace Middle East, Saturday on CNN.
We are counting down the hours to this weekend's Maverick Grand Prix, where you can be sure there'll be scrutiny aplenty on Red Bull's newly promoted driver from Japan, Yuki Tsunoda. The 24-year-old now finding himself in a seat alongside new teammate, the reigning world champion known as Max Verstappen, ahead of the first US race of the current campaign. Yuki has been in conversation right there in the Sunshine State with Elizabeth Perez of CNN in Espanol. First topic for conversation, food.
Do you feel more pressure, or do you feel this is a more fun race compared to other ones because of all the celebrities, because of the scene?
I like restaurants, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, like Miami, there are a lot of nice restaurants. So I always enjoy that. You know, when I come here, always there are lots of lists that I prepare for coming to this Miami and where to go. And it's just every time after the session finished or after the day finished, I always get excited, motivated to go out for dinner, get energy for next day, and you know to refresh myself because I really love food as well. So yeah, that's what probably I love Miami here.
You got a big promotion from Racing Bulls now to our Red Bull. How does it feel to change to get this promotion?
Good question. Obviously, it's the target I wanted to achieve, you know, to be in top 10 since I obviously joined the Formula One. It's been probably 4 years. I was in Racing Bulls, so and I see lots of evolution throughout the years, and you know, Racing Bulls got much stronger year by year. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to see those progress with me. So for me, it was part of the project being in that team to make the team. Make it faster, but now suddenly change the team that is being already faster. Had lots of big success in the past. It feels a lot different. I feel more pressure for sure, lots of expectations. So how to handle it with the pressure it's a lot different, and this is things that definitely I have to get used to it, and also learn coming races, but at the same time, there's so much time. So, once in top team, the next step is to perform straight away. So it does kind of mix the environment. It's not easy, but at the same time, teams are very being helpful and supportive a lot. So far, I'm really happy with the pace and confidence I'm able to build up so far in last 3 races. Just keep doing, and hopefully I can get a podium or first, obviously.
How is your relationship with your teammate Max Verstappen?
It's good. He's a very nice guy outside of racing. Very funny as well. Lots of sense of humor as well. So it's very fun to work with.
How has evolved the support from the Japanese fans now that your career is going further?
Yeah, I mean, I see lots of progress also in terms of Japanese fans throughout the year, just growing massively year by year, and now actually we hit the most one of the spectators records in Japan. So, and actually we see lots of tension, and as a Japanese, obviously very honored to see that, and also I just very happy to see.
What is one personal goal that you have set for yourself this season?
Good question. In terms of racing, I guess it will be score as much as possible, be top 10 drivers ranking, I guess, and if I get P1, that'd be great.
Big setback for Nottingham Forest in the English Premier League to tell you about. Forest beaten at home 2-0 by Brentford Thursday night. Forest hoping to reach the Champions League for next season, but they stay in 6th place right now after this damaging home reversal. The visitors' second goal of the night is a thing of beauty. And it's from Johan Gies, who shows remarkable composure and a lovely dink finish there, chipping the ball brilliantly up and over the keeper, stealing an impressive win ground as well. What a play. Thanks so much for your company. Do take care, and as ever, stay with CNN. It's 5 minutes.
Do you have a box of videotapes, film reels, or photos that are degrading? Legacy Box professionally converts them to DVDs, thumb drive, or the cloud. Legacy Box is simple and safe, with over 1 million satisfied customers. Visit legacybox.com today to get our $9 offer.
Screw, the Siberian cat, lives in sunny LA but longs for snow, so Mom created the best snow day ever. We do ridiculous things to give our pets the best life. But one simple thing can help you give the best care. Get Pumpkin Pet Insurance at pumpkin.k.
Well, you're in the big leagues now.
How was your vacation, sir? Oh, I needed one.
With your 10% loyalty program discount, that's $225 for the night.
Not bad.
$155 for the night.
Hold up. How?
It's easy when you know where to look.
Trivago compares hotel prices from hundreds of sites, so you can save up to 40%.
Trivago's my secret.
Hotel? Trivago. I'm Mike Valerio at the foot of Incheon near Seoul, South Korea, and this is DNA.
Okay, I'll take it.
A mere suggestion of a hint of a slightly softer tone from China on possible trade talks with the US. Ahead here on CNN News.
Okay, I'm going to bed. I'm out. Because I'm tired. Even though I slept most of the day, I'm still tired. Girl.
Mike Waltz is out as U.S. National Security Advisor.
Hmm.
Why was Mike Waltz let go? So with the let go, he is being made ambassador to the United Nations.
So he's being let go. Many believe he was a dead man walking long before his role in Signalgate, one of the biggest ever leaks of highly classified intelligence. And the Israeli Prime Minister says supply.
So y'all have a good night. Oh, it's Friday. Have a good day at work or school. See y'all later. How do you... Oh.